This.
Oh my gosh, I almost just fell.
Welcome to Quarantine Talks, the show where we answer random questions you guys have been asking
And do crazy stuff. Today we're going to talk about what God's been teaching us during quarantine.
So for today's game, we're playing the napkin challenge, which is basically you drop a napkin from the top of the stairs, and you catch it before it hits the ground. We're playing best 2 out of 3 between me and Jess.
Loser gets pied in the face. Let's go. Why do you think that you are going to be the undefeated napkin challenge for today?
Well, I think I'm the obvious underdog in this story, and I've always been the underdog in high school, middle school, and yeah, I thrive off of stuff like that, so Jess is going down. So Jess, why are you going to win today's napkin challenge?
I am going to win today's napkin challenge because my legs are as long as Daryl's whole body.
I'm in awe of what you did when you saved me. Every flaw and every sin you forgave me. You cleaned me up, wrapped in your love and you healed me up. Hooked to your heart and you reeled me up. Give me faith and you seal me up. So take these hands, I'm holding them out for you. I know I can stand and be down and I'm so true. So take these hands, I'm holding them out for you.
So we're going to bump up the difficulties by dropping 2 napkins at the same time. You got to catch both of them. If we both win, we each get pied in the face together.
Okay, here we go.
We both get pied.
5 minutes later.
Alright, let's count down. 3, 2, 1.
So now that we know who the reigning champ to the napkin challenge is, we're jumping in straight into our question. So, the question for this week is, what has God been teaching you lately? So Jess, what has he been teaching you lately?
Yeah, well, I kind of want to start off this answer with a quick story. So when I first moved to New Bern, I don't know if you knew this, but I only knew one person. It was actually Morgan Comer, who went to ECU. Did you guys know that Daryl and I went to ECU together?
Same
Fun
school.
fact, yeah.
Small world.
Right, but I also had 2 best friends here that were dating each other. So either I was third wheeling with them, that was kind of my immediate community, or I was by myself. And so it was this like crazy season with Jesus where like everything was coming to the surface and it was just really hard. It was kind of a wrestle season. But I remember at one point listening to this sermon during that time and the pastor said, ask God who he wants to reveal himself to you as during this time. So I remember I was driving down the road and I was just like, Jesus, like who do you want to be for me right now? Who do you want to reveal yourself to me as? And I heard the Lord so sweetly say, I want to be your friend. And that was kind of a turning point for me in my faith because I grew up in the church, but I think really having like this close friendship with Jesus was something that was just new. And it was almost by necessity being in this season where it's like, I didn't have this whole group of friends like I did in college. And so really over this time, I've just been learning what it is to have Jesus as a friend. And I wanna read this. This is John 15, starting with verse 14. Jesus says, "You're my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I've told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name." And so I think for me during this quarantine time, I've really just been learning what it is to just get closer to Jesus as a friend in deeper and deeper ways. And I've just been learning as I spend more time with him, just growing our friendship like you would any other friendship, right? It's like a lot easier for me to just hear his voice and feel his heart and just receive his direction for where we're going together. So, yeah.
So during quarantine,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of us have had to been intentional with like staying friends with people that we're not seeing face to face
Yeah.
anymore. Do you feel like quarantine, like you had to be like really intentional with your walk with Jesus in this time where you don't get to be with maybe girls that you Bible study with, girls that you disciple,
Yeah.
like face to face? Do you feel like it was like a challenge for you?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's shifted throughout the whole quarantine because, when we first started, we didn't know how long it was going to last. So I think when it first started, I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, like we have all this time. Like there was obviously still a full-time job to do, but it felt like there was more freedom and flexibility to like spend this time with Jesus. So that kind of felt like this open door for that like deeper just friendship and intimacy with him. But I think definitely as the time went on, I mean, there were definitely periods where it's more of a struggle. You're more by yourself. So if you're not careful, I try to talk about this with community. It's so important to get stuff just out of our heads sometimes into the open. Because I think for me, just with specific stuff, I can get very wrapped up in my head with it. And so I think just really maintaining like that close friendship with Jesus, but also really letting in community in a healthy way has been kind of a learning curve with that. So yeah. Daryl, what about you? Like, what do you feel like God's been teaching you during this time?
So for me, God's been revealing something inside of me that I didn't know was there, and I probably wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for quarantine.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, I know. It's like you don't even expect it, but he just does, and it's like, yes, it's so good. I didn't really want to see it, but I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah.
And what it was the insecurity of performance and perfection, and I really struggle with that, and I didn't know that I did. It was just kind of like buried there, and it had to come to the surface because God is like, Daryl, that doesn't belong in there. I don't want that to be a part of you, and now's the time to unearth it and to prune you, to like remove that from you so that you can be better. You can be the you that I have dreamed up.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like I struggle with like when I'm preaching, like, did it really like connect, or could I have like said something different or done something better? And then God has to humble me and remind me, like, hey, it's not you speaking, you're a vessel that I speak through. And so just make it more about me, God, and less about you, Daryl. And during this quarantine time, I've really learned that God, aside from like what I have to do, like preaching, studying, researching, doing projects and stuff, put all that to the side. Who is Daryl? Daryl is a child of God. He's a son. And God was reminding me, Daryl, like, do whatever you do for my glory, for my approval, for an audience of one. And realize that I wired you in a specific way that is purely you, and no one else is wired that way like you are. And you're going to do something that I've like made just for you. And you don't have to be anybody else's version of you. You don't have to fulfill your own expectations that you put on yourself. And man, that was so freeing to just like, wow, like I'm a child of God. He wired me a specific way, and I don't need to be anything other than myself. And so I feel like as long as we're doing our best, like really giving God everything and doing things for His glory, not for out of the fear of man or for pleasing other people, then we have like true freedom to actually just live and be and not struggle with perfection and performance, because it's His pleasure that we're living for. And the scripture that he brought to my mind was in Colossians 23. Colossians 3 verse 23, which says, "Work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people." And so just a simple reminder, God is the one that we're doing things for, not we don't have to strive for pleasing other people.
So good. So I think it's so cool that you bring that up, because I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, doing something and feeling insecure or wondering if it was good enough or whatever. How do you feel like you've learned to practice walking that out? Like maybe when you do something and right after that thought pops up of like, oh, what did they think about that? Or how was that? Like, what does it look like for you to practice just walking that out?
Yeah, so one thing that I have to do that I've learned that is really effective is pray in the moment when it happens. The moment that you feel the voice of the enemy or your own voice like giving you these insecurities, like, oh, was it good enough? Stop what you're doing and instantly pray. I didn't used to like walk the streets and then like I would like be thinking about stuff and then just pray in the moment. I'm like, okay, prayer, I gotta be in my bed, at the foot of the bed or somewhere in a specific posture and pray. But God's like, no, like you pray anywhere, anytime. And so I've had to learn to like just stop, pray. It's a conversation between you and God, and the freedom and like the joy that comes out of that has been worth the just stopping your world and just praying.
So good. Man, I love walking through this stuff because it really does reveal this thing of we're always learning. And I think that's the best posture our hearts can be in, is that humble place of we're always learning, and that's okay. That's actually how we were designed, is to be continually growing and learning and growing in spiritual maturity. So we want to hear from you guys, like, what is God teaching you in this time? Feel free to comment below. We want to connect with you during this season. And yeah, we're super excited to know like what God's teaching you.
Not only do we want to know your questions and thoughts, but definitely subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, and yeah, tune in next week for the next episode. We can't wait to see you guys there.